The title for tonight's lesson is Waiting for God's Timing. And then I'm going to be in Psalms 37:7, Lamentations 3:25 through 26, and then Isaiah 40:31. So I feel like waiting and patience is is a thing that a lot of us struggle with, whether it's waiting for a relationship, a job, an answer, or just anything that we have to wait for. But waiting on the Lord is important because it demonstrates your trust in God. When you're waiting on God, you're telling him that you will continue to trust in him even when it doesn't make sense to you or when people around you are telling you to give up and do something else. In the past few months, I've been in a time of waiting, and throughout that time of waiting, God has really taught me a lot through it, and he's shown me the reason why I've been in a time of waiting. So my first point is wait patiently and faithfully. And the verse is Psalms 37:7. Be silent before the Lord and wait expectantly for him. Do not be agitated by one who prospers in his way, by the person who carries out evil plans. Because God has promised to faithfully take care of those who put their trust in him, we can rest in the Lord and we can wait patiently for him instead of fearing that God has forgotten about us. Because I feel like a lot of times when we ask God for something and he doesn't give it to us right away, we think that he has just forgotten about us or is not listening to us. But that's not true at all, because God never forgets about us and he listens to everything that we tell him. We just have to trust and believe that at the right moment he will give us what we're waiting for. And if we don't wait for his timing, there can be unforeseen heartache or disappointment or even danger ahead if we move forward without his guidance, because God knows everything and he can see the dangers that we can't see. So if we try to do stuff without God's guidance and waiting for him to give us the green light, most likely it will always end up not working. It may work at first or for a little bit, but in the long run, it won't last forever because it wasn't something that he gave us the go-ahead to do. So one thing that I have been praying about and waiting for these past few months, maybe about almost a year, is discipling someone. I prayed that God would just give me the right person to pour into, and that he would just open my heart to whoever it would be. And after a while of it not happening, God finally showed me that the reason why he hadn't given me someone was because I was so busy. I was going through a lot at that time, and I just wasn't at my best. So through that, he taught me that if I just went ahead and jumped into discipling someone, it probably wouldn't have worked, because I didn't wait, I would have waited for his timing, and since I was going through stuff, I wouldn't have been able to give that person the attention and the time that they needed or deserved. So it just showed me that God was telling me that it wasn't the right time. And then I often feel like the reason why it's hard for us to wait is because at that moment we might feel like nothing is happening, or we might see that nothing is happening. But what we don't see is that when we wait patiently for God, he's working behind the scenes and he's going to make it just right for us. And then that brings me to my second point, which is wait quietly. And the verse is Lamentations 3:25 through 26. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the person who seeks him. It is good to wait quietly for salvation from the Lord. Waiting quietly is the opposite of trying to make things happen. To wait quietly is just that even when things are at its very worst, that God is still faithful to us. When we don't know an answer or if it's the right time for something, we shouldn't try to figure out it right away or at that moment. Sometimes the reason why God puts us in a time of waiting is because he wants us to wait quietly, because it's a good time for reflection and listening instead of speaking. When we wait quietly, we can reflect on the things that we want from God. And sometimes when we reflect on that, we realize that the things we are asking God aren't things that will glorify him. So it gives us time to really think about it and make sure that what we're asking God for, that it will bring glory to him. And then oftentimes when we want something and he's not giving us an answer yet, we just keep asking and asking him for it over and over again because we're too concentrated on getting an answer. And if we aren't silent and listen to God's voice, we are never going to hear it. So waiting quietly gives God the opportunity to give us an answer. Silence implies both the acceptance of God's will and the refusal to complain to others. A lot of times when things don't go our way or happen as quickly as we want it to, we always like to go to someone and complain to them about it. But we shouldn't be complaining to someone because it's not going to change anything, or it's not going to speed up the process either if we just complain to someone about what's happening. And quite honestly, if we complain, it might even make the process longer. And then my third point is it has a purpose. And the verse is Isaiah 40:31. But those who trust in the Lord, they will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not become weary. They will walk and not faint. So, waiting on God increases and strengthens our faith in him. We learn more patience, and our trust in God intensifies. And most importantly, when we have God's peace, knowing that when he does give us the green light, we're in his will. Sometimes the wait is for God to align other pieces of the plan, or even to align the pieces of our own heart. It also prepares us for his promises. Anything good and worth waiting for comes through a process of preparation. So when we want something from God and we want it to be good, it's going to take a while because God has to prepare us for that situation. Another purpose is that it can test our motives. The testing of waiting is to remove idols. We can't allow what we are waiting for become an idol or take priority over our desire for the Lord. When we are pursuing our dreams over God's will, we are allowing our wants to become greater than what God wants for our life. And then ultimately, it's not about getting what we want, but about becoming who God wants us to be. And that's all I have.